What is the biggest asshole move that a teacher ever pulled on you or your class? It was peer edit day in my 10th grade English class and my partner didn't write his essay, so I had nothing to peer edit. My English teacher gave me an F for the day because I didn't submit a peer edit. When I explained the situation, she cackled and said, "Not my problem." He made us fill out a form where you wrote personal information about yourself. He said no one would read them except him. There was even a special section where you could tell the teacher any really personal issues that would be just between him and you. At the end of the year, the teacher read everyone's forms out loud and made us guess who wrote them. He even read my confidential personal section. When I was 15, I was a very quiet, very polite, very aware girl with severe depression and paralyzing anxiety. It was so bad that I couldn't even eat or move normally in front of people. My English class had oral presentations one day, and when it was my turn, I literally couldn't get up. I was paralyzed with fear. It was all because I was being abused by some people in the class. Social abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, and I felt as if my presentation would be some kind of spectacle to them. I couldn't even speak. I was sweating profusely. My teacher literally turned to me with bulging eyes, teeth clenched together, and yelled at me, "You get up there, now." I shook my head as I trembled and broke down in tears. She forced the class to leave. Once they had gone, she accused me of having crocodile tears and treated me as if I was some misbehaving student. That absolutely disgusted her. She treated me like a liar and a waste. She said, if I was them, the class, I would given up on you by now. That cut so deep, it was like my heart was sliced with her words. I was in complete shock and just nodded my head at whatever she said, just so she could calm down. She literally thought of me as some rebellious student, when really I was crippled by my mental and physical illnesses at the time. I was very quiet and never did wrong. I don't know what her problem was. The saddest thing is that she knew that I was sick. She just didn't care. She was so nasty to me that even though it's been several years since high school, whenever I think about her, or my school, or how people treated me so nastily, I just break down in tears and find myself wanting to either hurt myself or hurt them. It's unfair. To this day I don't know why everyone appeared to hate me so much. I'm starting to think people were believing things that were untrue. Possibly started from someone making up lies, because there was literally nothing about me that was deserving of such hate. During my school years, I was suicidal, and I barely passed my final year exams due to everything/everyone I had to put up with. My biggest regret was never seeking help. The main reason why I didn't was because so many people were against me, and therefore I didn't think anyone would believe me. Plus I was ashamed that such things had happened. It was that bad that, as soon as I graduated, I fled my hometown. The only reason why I return to visit occasionally is to see my parents, and even on those rare occasions, I have to travel at night, and I avoid going down the street or to the supermarket, etc. out of fear of being seen. I have no reason to feel so dirty as I have done absolutely nothing wrong. I'm not ugly, I have excellent hygiene, I'm extremely smart, I got pushed up 2 years at school, I'm nice to everyone even assholes, I come from a well-respected family. I would love to know what it was exactly that had so many people treating me as if I had murdered their families. My HS physics teacher asked, in front of the class, if I was breastfed. I said no, I was adopted. He responded with, that explains a lot about you. I responded with, hey, I heard you're living in a trailer now? Ex-wife pulled the long straw. Neither of us reported each other, and he passed me. My high school English teacher suddenly required all papers and assignments that have been graded, with the grade written on them, not a copy, for the class be put together in a packet and turned back into her at the end of the year. That was 1 week away. I was one of the few that had all of them still, because I never cleaned out my backpack, but got an F anyways, because they were not in order. Found out she did this because she lost her grade book. She wasn't around the next year. My 7th and 8th grade math teacher would stand in the front of the class and point kids out and ask them how they were that stupid to not understand the material. By the end of the year she made a girl break down and cry. She ran out of the room to the bathroom, where the teacher followed her in. and continued to yell at her. She also made jokes about a black friend of mine, then Amish people. She just got an award for being the top teacher in our district. I suspected my English teacher disliked me because I was a smart-assed sarcastic kid in high school. Well, I knew that, but I actually suspected that it was affecting the way she graded my essays. I was quite good at writing my thoughts out and always felt that I should have received better than the 68-72% range I kept getting. Had her 2 years in a row. Swapped essays with a friend for whom I edited his work, and we both handed in each other's as our own. He ended up with 92% and was featured in front of the class, and I got 71%. We never told the principal for fear of, I don't remember, but we had a reason. Regardless, it pissed me off, and I was happy to finally get a new teacher the following year. In year 1, I wasn't allowed to go outside for break and lunchtime for a week because I couldn't read a word in a book. I had no idea what it said. I was told to stop acting stupid and read it. I kept asking over and over what it said, and she told me off. I got in serious trouble, told how stupid I was acting, and I was refused any playtime. I was then told I was too stupid. Unlike the other kids in the class, I hadn't been taught how to read in my old school properly, and I was behind. Eventually I was put into a dumb kid class in English for 2 weeks, where they got me up to speed. 2 weeks and I became the best reader in the class, although I still suck at spelling and grammar. Year 2 and 3. A horrible man taught me for 2 years. He was a dick. He spent his days tormenting me and allowing the kids in the class to do the same back. I spent most of my class time out in the corridor, sent to the very end next to the front door, where it was cold. He would drag me out of the room by my shirt, egg the other kids on to constantly bully me in any way, and then he made out I was dumb. He got me put onto this naughty kids thing, saying it was all my fault, that I never did any work, that I was the worst kid in the school. The worst I remember doing was shouting out answers, because he would ignore me, and I would get frustrated when no other kid knew the answer and I did. He marked down all my work, and made it, so I was left down with the dumb kids the next 2 years after this. I was supposed to be 2 years above my year group. I was tested before I started school, but in the normal UK school system, they don't move kids up like they do in America. He knew my mum didn't like me and made up all these stories about how awful I was, and she believed every word. I would be punished at home for something out of my control and my mum would hit, yell, threaten. I was terrified of her. The head teacher of my primary school, she kept telling me how all the problems I had were my own fault and that the other kids didn't have to treat me equally because I deserved what I got. I just couldn't do anything right. I got sick when I was 10 from the stress. She knew how bad the bullying was, but she refused to do anything about it. I was so scared of my mum that she didn't know because I couldn't tell her anything. When I told her what was going on, she would blame me. So when I got sick, so sick I ended up in hospital, that was when she finally acted and forced the other kids to behave around me. I still wasn't allowed to play with them, but at least the worst crap was toned down, and the teachers weren't having a go at me, no matter what I did. Year 6. Getting told by my teacher in front of a silent class, you know, I wish you had never come back. The school is so much better off without you. That one still hurts. A kid had started kicking me from behind, and I eventually got annoyed during quiet carpet time and told her to stop it. Year 6 again. I got into the best high school in my area. The teachers decided to hold a meeting with my mum, telling her how I would never make it in that school and would be kicked out for my awful behavior within a week. They tried to make my mum send me to a school for crazy kids because I would never survive in a normal school. Guess what? As soon as I got out of that crap hole, my grades went from the bottom to the top of my year group. Over 200 kids, and my supposed behavioral problems vanished, like they were never there. None of my teachers in school could understand why I had such a bad report or such awful grades. Year 8. My school was merged with the crap school up the road. All the years above mine moved to our site, and it caused chaos. No one liked the merger and the kids from the other school weren't very nice. The year 11th boys took it upon themselves to attack me constantly. They threw rocks at me, smashed my glasses on my face, pushed down a staircase. Only reason I didn't get hurt was because I jumped. Someone tried to knife me down a corridor. I only found out because my blazer and bag had been sliced. The worst part was I couldn't escape. I would spend my breaks and lunch times in the computer room, hiding, just sitting silently at a computer, reading stories about the Power Rangers. They started attacking me in there. They would surge in as a huge mob and attack me. How was a 13-year-old girl supposed to defend herself against 16-year-old boys? The poor technician. He was a really nice guy and he tried to help me. He would try and get teachers involved to stop them because he had no power. The only problem was, I got in serious trouble for it. It was my fault for sitting in the computer room because I was making myself a target. Go outside and I was attacked out there. I remember one day having to hide in the server cupboard as the technician kicked them out of the room. I was shaking, crying, so scared, and I was getting yelled at by our teacher and dragged to the head teacher's office for causing so much trouble. I remember just sitting on the floor behind a chair in the corridor, hiding, crying because I was so scared. Year 9. Our year group merged with the other schools. I ended up back in classes with kids who I didn't want to be near. My form tutor was new to the school. I didn't know her, but she instantly decided she wanted to be the cool teacher and decided to be that teacher. She had to attack me with the other kids. The kids in my class, they did bad stuff to me. On the way into class one day, one of the boys turned around and punched me in the face and broke my glasses. I just start yelling at him. She tells me to shut up and go sit down. I tell her he broke my glasses punching me in the face. She watched it happen. She just smiled at me and told me to shut up acting like a baby. Another time she sent only me out of class to the head teacher. What had I done that was so awful? Well, my entire class were acting up as usual. They weren't doing as they were told, and I was just sitting with a kid who was also an outcast. We weren't saying a word to each other, just watching the chaos. She finally quietens everything down and decides we had to sit apart and sends him to sit somewhere else. Me, I stayed quiet as she starts having a go at me for making a fuss over him moving, except I didn't say anything. A kid next to me starts having a go at me after she finished, and I mutter whatever to him because he's being a complete jerk. She suddenly turns on me, even though she heard what he said, and tells me to stop being so disrespectful to her. I get screamed out of the class with a yellow slip. I don't know what the hell just happened and silently walk to the office and just sit outside on the floor in the cold because there was nowhere else to sit. I get in serious trouble. I'm terrified because they tell me my mom has to come in and she would kill me. At the end of class, most of my class, they turned up at the office, and for the first and only time, they stuck up for me. They told the teacher what really happened, and I was sent on my way, and it was forgotten. Year 11th. I was waiting in the line to go get lunch. My mum had run out of food and decided to give me money. I was standing in the queue waiting when a group surrounds me. I ignore them as they taunt me, then they start touching me. I try and escape and can't. I get angry and yell at them as the teachers watching decide to get involved. I tell them what had just happened. They had touched me, and I felt horrible. I get dragged away from the line, yelled at for trying to get good kids in trouble by 2 teachers and to stop using my past as an excuse for my behavior. I then get told I'm not having lunch. I don't eat breakfast, so no food till 6 p.m. I had to go back to the art rooms to hide. I was shaking, scared, and in trouble for being sexually assaulted. I was supposed to be doing my work, but I end up just sitting on a computer, watching the Rangers, just trying to calm down. A few days later it happened again. This time it was worse. I freak out. I attacked my attackers. I broke a few hands, somehow forced my way out of the group, barged a fat teacher nearly over. I was 5 feet 11, 8, 5 stone, and just freaked out in a corner of the corridor in front of everyone. I ended up just running and hiding in the computer room, crying my eyes out, watching the Rangers, because no one else was there for me. I only had them. Eventually someone found me and made me leave the room to an office where they tell me someone saw what happened. I didn't have to go to class for the rest of the day and just sat doing nothing. I went home that night and had to pretend everything was normal and fine at home. I heard the police got involved with that one, but I don't know what happened. I just had to get on with things, like nothing ever happened, because I wasn't allowed to get upset at the constant attacks etc. I just had to carry on and survive, alone. In the 80s I had a HS career counselor tell me that there was absolutely no future in computer programming. We had this foreign kid in algebra II honors. It already dawned on us very early in the class that he knew it all and didn't really do much besides help other students when they needed it. Our teacher refused anything that had pen on it. Assignments and tests were to be done in pencil. Now throughout the school year, this foreign kid would only use pen and subsequently failed all the assignments and tests, which were of course correct in every way possible. You could tell he didn't give two shits because he really enjoyed helping us. So what does she do? Starts failing everyone that's acquainted with him because he's setting a bad example. Bitch was forced to regrade everything properly once we complained, resulting in our grades being available to us late. She didn't return the following year.